All right, guys. Sorry for the little hiccups here. We're already in August. So once we hit July 4th, the summer starts accelerating. But at any rate, sorry for this little bit of a late start, but glad to see everybody. I only have one announcement before handing off to Bob. Is just more FYI. Is that I've added, or I should say, extended the future events subpage on our website. What I've done is I've collected all our internal events, like the Zoom meeting schedule, all the external other events that are not, NEVIC per se, like Nearfest, the Ham Exposition, Kutztown, the Vintage Radio and Communication Museum. I put that in a full list. So if you were looking for things to do, I started, it starts from about July onwards, so right through the end of the year. So go have a look. If you're looking for something to do, all the events are there. In the future, maybe I'll try to add the link to the event, but that's sort of like extra credit. But at least you'll know, because you can always do a Google if anything else there. But now you have a place to look. And like I said, the Zoom meeting schedule is posted. I try, there's always a little bit of chance of subject to change, but it looks to me like a pretty realistic schedule. But have a look, see what you guys think, and hopefully it'll be helpful going forward, because this will be the policy going forward, even into like next year. I'll be able to post any events that I know of. And that's why I encourage you guys to reach out to me and let me know of any events that we may have overlooked. It could be even something like, like in the case of like Brad, if he's having a book sale and happen to have a bunch of electronic, vintage electronic books, I'll happily post that. Things like that I'm happy to do. So just send them my way, and we'll go from there. And with that, I think it's the only announcement I have. I'm going to hand off to Bob.
Hi, I had to turn on my mic. Yeah, I have a brief story about Windows updates. I was given a presentation about antique radios. It was in a public library, and I had it on my laptop, and I'd been to the library the day before, downloaded it onto the library machine because I couldn't connect my own, tried everything out, it worked fine. So the day of the presentation comes along, lots of people in the room. Windows decided to do an update. So
unbelievable.
So I had my laptop with me, and I walked around the room and showed people some of the slides and the pictures. Anyway, I wanted to make a couple of comments. First of all, thank Jon for the work he's been doing. The work he's done is actually part of a broader project. Jon and I and Joe Coco and Al Finger are collaborating and looking at updating our website. So that's one of the first updates. There'll be more updates to come along. We're also looking at possibly transitioning our website from its current form, which is written in HTML code, more to using a web builder, which is easier to support. Thanks to Jon, we have backup support now. We didn't. So thank you, Jon. Very much appreciated.
No problem. I've got
the strategy going forward is to have something that's a little more updatable and easier to update, and perhaps with multiple permissions, so that the administrator doesn't have to do all the work, but so that other folks can do some of the work. One of the other things I wanted to mention is, well, why are we doing this? Well, when I ran for president, I said I wanted to promote the vitality of the club. Well, you can see from the discussion here, there's lots of interest in things that aren't sponsored by our club. The exposition, Kutztown, things of that nature. And I know, for example, folks like Len, who's on the call, have announced the Yankee Steam Museum event here on in this Zoom meeting, and also on Groups.io, but not all our club members are in Groups.io. So what we're trying to do is reach a broader audience. We're also thinking about changing the website a little bit, not a lot. I mean, the look and feel of the website is great, but try to appeal to a broader audience. Some members of the public, invite folks to, we can help them with finding a new home for their grandmother's radio, things of that nature. So that's about all I got to say. The other thing we're doing to promote club members is sending out announcements with Constant Contact. You probably all received one about Tom and Mr. Mike, who were speaking at the Ham Exposition. So that went out about a week ago. And I collaborated with Tom on that announcement. And Tom, thanks for your help on that. And also collaborated with Mr. Mike on that. So tried to get it precisely written so that it would satisfy and clearly communicate what's happening. And now I talked to at least one ham who wasn't aware of it, who got the message. So that's about it. So thank you all very much. That's it.
Oh, thank you, Bob. Actually, just maybe I'll have just a couple other things. Is I just want to thank Joe Coco for actually getting our website. He did all that work somewhat in the background, and he did a heck of a job just getting us off the ground. So, big thank you really goes to him. He just gave me the keys to the kingdom, so now I get to be dangerous. But these are just refinements, really. And that's that way offloads Joe, and we can just a little bit of tweaking here and there, and gives us greater longevity on the website. And then to Bob's point, if we decide to go with a different platform, the hope is the platform will mostly mimic what you're seeing now, in a sort of slightly different way. But yeah, we're not rushing into this. We're going to be careful and clear-eyed about this. But I've discovered even as a software engineer that I'm having to Google and grep Google what do these terms in HTML mean? I say, oh, okay, I know what that means now, and I move on. But it's all a bit cryptic. But you learn this stuff. But at any rate, that is all my announcements. Does anyone have any besides obviously the theme for this evening's meeting? Plus, maybe you have some slides to show us of Friedrichshafen. Does anyone have any announcements or anything like to share? Outside of the meeting, like things you want to sell, or maybe some acquisition that doesn't matter, whether it falls in the theme of today's meeting or not. Anything along those lines? Oh, Carl, do you want to say something? There you go.
Yeah. Just wanted to bring the group up to speed. Bob got an email about 2 months ago from a gentleman whose father had passed away down in Falmouth, Maine. And Joe and I went down there, Joe Devonshire, and it was an interesting experience. Magnificent house right on the harbor, and the father must have been a very interesting guy. But this guy essentially just said, please take the stuff. And what we're going to do is put it on the silent auction table at the Devic meet. The guy worked for Sylvania for most of his career, and just a cornucopia of stuff. Beautiful Boomtown frequency meter. If you want one of those, they're large, but it's in great shape. A bunch of radios, a bunch of tools. He had in his cellar, though part of it was a garage, it was an older house, a pristine Model A. And in his garage, he had a 1944 Cadillac. And boy, a Packard, huge Packard, in pristine shape. Also, must have been a very fascinating guy to know. And we've got all sorts of odds and ends, and we'll be storing them until March, and then bringing them and put it on the table. We will be bringing some stuff, hopefully, just to put on the free table. that isn't worth putting up for auction, but well worth the time spent. A nice family.
Were you bringing the Packard as well there, Carl?
No, but I'll give you his name and number.
Oh, well, I'd love to say, that would be my short list of big classic cars to own.
It was big. I couldn't believe it. Holy mackerel.
So it sounds like pre-World War II, judging from what you're saying. It must, classic
Yeah.
30s. Yeah, okay, yeah, they're big. They're big cars, big cars. Well, that's great. So, are you bringing some of this stuff for the Fall Brookline and then some for the art show, or?
We'll probably bring free table stuff to the fall. But save the stuff that we think has got some value. Just interesting stuff like a little CRT tube, TV CRT tube by Sylvania, which had been made into a mechanical clock. So this not by him. I would say, it was a sample to give out a sales sample. And there's a rotating clock face on the front of it, and just funky stuff like that.
Great. Well, the free table is, people love that stuff. And then, of course, for the silent auction, that'd be great, to have that. Sound like some great finds. But well, thank you, Carl. Appreciate that. Hey, Tom, would you be up for showing some more pictures from Friedrichshafen?
I'd be happy to. Sure, John.
Oh,
Anything else? See if
yeah,
anybody
anything else before?
has
I apologize. Anything else anyone wanted to add before I go to the first part of our meeting? All right. Well, just if you think of it later, you can always jump in. All right, Tom, you are good to go.
Okay, let me just make sure that I can do it right this time. And let's try this. Are we seeing a radio and wire recorder? And
Yes.
I think we talked about this guy. That was it's just stuck in my mind. There's an amazing combination. Is that coming through okay, John?
Yeah, that looks great.
Yeah. It's I wish I could have brought it home. It just one of those things that you laugh about and then you say, hey, that would look really good in some little corner someplace. So anyway, we'll move on and see what else we can find here. Let's see. There we go. These are the German Volksempfänger, the people's radio, like a Volkswagen was the people's car, and this was the people's radio, and it was only supposed to be used for listening to Hitler, and if you listen to anything else, you could be jailed, the radio be taken away, and it was possible that you could even be shot. So you had to be very careful of where this thing was tuned. It came with a little red tag saying only listen to certain stations, but as you can see, some of them were actually tunable. And to try and catch people who are listening to the British Broadcasting Company, the Germans broadcast a tone every minute on the BBC frequency, and they told people, if you hear your neighbor radio giving off a tone, call us because they're listening to the BBC and they should not be listening to the BBC. And it was pretty scary. And there are just thousands and thousands of these things out there. They sell for anywhere from $75 to $200, depending on condition. They're quite historic. And as you can see, there are lots and lots of them. Some of them don't even have guts. They're just the radio as in the upper left-hand corner here. This is my shaky hand. Okay. Did we look at this one? This is clearly a fake radio of some kind. I don't know what it is, but it had a very strange tag on it. I think it was just something that was made to look like an old radio, but wasn't.
Yeah.
Tell me if I've showed these pictures to the AWA group also, and if I showed the same pictures here, let me know. This is sorry.
I think we're about right, Tom. I think you were the last time you showed them. I think we ended about where you started. So we have
Okay, that's what I figured. Right. This is an Eldico transmitter, sideband transmitter that I had never seen before. And I thought I'd seen most of the old radio equipment, and this thing was just sitting there. It's really, really lovely. I would have taken it home just as a nostalgia piece. You notice the little 1-inch oscilloscope tube up in the corner there, monitoring your modulation, and the tuning dial on the front with a nice Collins knob in the middle. They were trying to come up in the world. Eldico goes way back in the history of mobile radios and ham radio, and this is one that I had never come across. It was very tempting. $250 for something that rare. It seemed very reasonable. This is a very interesting little piece of test gear that included a signal generator, a television receiver, a tunable television receiver, and it could be used for setting up TV reception and tweaking receivers. I don't know what the price was on this, but it looked like you really had to have one if you were in the television repair business. This is a very strange looking thing. I couldn't understand. There are all these little round things here. They looked like condensers. And I looked really closely and finally figured out that it was a gun cleaning kit. And the brushes that you see here were to go down various gun barrels. And that little chain link thing was to be pulled through a barrel with a cleaning wad at the end of it, and it would clean out the rifling of a rifle. But it looked so strange in the middle of a bunch of radio equipment. I was trying to figure out what kind of radio equipment this could be. So it's interesting because you never know what you're going to come across. For instance, this thing, clearly you're supposed to look in to the goggles on the right here, and inside there are various things. And I finally figured out that this is a vision testing device that was used by a motor vehicle bureau in Germany for testing the vision of potential German drivers to see if they could get a driver's license. But you never know what you're going to come across at this show.
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, absolutely. That's amazing. Did you try to take that home too, maybe, Tom?
Yeah, right. This is a really neat piece of quack medical equipment. As you can see, there's a whole rack of different violet ray tubes up here, and those are either rubbed across various parts of the patient's body that hurt, or they're inserted inside various places on a patient's body. And the current is tuned up so that it glows really nice and violet. And the practitioner says, this is going to cure you. And if you believe in psychosomatic medicine, if a patient really believes that they're being cured, they have a chance of actually being cured. But in general, we think of these things as quack medical devices, and this is a particularly nice looking one with all these different impressive tubes. The idea was to really impress a patient into thinking that they were getting a fabulous cure. These things are very, very common both in the United States and in Europe. And they were sold both to practitioners and for home use. And they came with a voluminous instruction book that explained all the different uses of these devices. I have a talk that I was thinking of giving here if people are interested on quack medical devices, sort of the history of quack medical devices and how those quack medical devices actually led to some of today's cures. and how some of the things that we thought of as quack medical devices 30, 40 years ago are being sort of brought back to life and being used to some avail with people with various kinds of illnesses. The one that comes to mind particularly is the old technique of putting leeches on a person's skin. If they had various kinds of diseases, you put a leech on the skin, and the leech would suck blood through the skin and make the person better, according to the practitioner. And everybody used to laugh, but it turns out that the actually secrete a anticoagulating chemical into the body, which makes it so that your blood doesn't coagulate as rapidly, and that can be very useful for people with atrial fibrillation, where the heart sort of stops for a while and it could develop blood clots. So leeches have come back, and so have a number of other things. I don't know whether people will be interested in hearing about those things or not. We'll talk.
Oh, absolutely. I'd be all over quack medical.
Did I hear a nay from Bruce?
Yes.
Will you be giving a demonstration?
Have you ever been up to Lake Pleiad on Middlebury Gap, Bruce? There are all sorts of leeches there.
Yeah, sure.
Nothing like a talk on bloodletting.
Yeah, that's it, right.
I want to see where that tube on the right goes.
The one on the right
Yes.
goes into some bodily orifice and it glows. God knows what it does.
Oh, you're not going to show that during the talk.
Actually, I taught a course on neurophysiology and neuroscience, and I brought out one of these things and I turned it on. I said, this is how people cured anything, including mental disorders in the old days. Maybe it still works. Anyway, they like seeing glowing lights. Yeah, onward. This is a wonderful, wonderful crank up phonograph. And actually, the phonograph is beautiful. They insisted on playing it for me. Just a fabulous sounding instrument. And then I started looking at this illustration, these little babies dancing around and completely naked. And it's just an amazing piece. I would have loved to buy it also, but boy, it was very heavy. I did actually lift it up to see if I could bring it home on the plane, and the answer was no way. Just the string for the thing is extremely heavy, and they're always built on a heavy metal base so that the little vibrating reeds have something to vibrate against, and they're held in firmly. But it just a wonderful thing. It was only maybe $150, $175, so it was definitely something that should have come home with me. But this show is so full of things like that, like this wonderful phonograph. I'd never seen anything like this before, but it's just absolutely beautiful. The little electric pickup there for the needle, and an electric motor to turn the record with a belt drive to the record. Just absolutely fabulous. For those who collect weird and wonderful things, this was definitely waiting. And another just beautiful horn with, I think, it wasn't an Edison phonograph under it, but round record phonograph. You can see the phonograph that I talked about on the left of this, and then the violet ray machine further to the left. And an old telephone handset out in front, just full of strange things. This is a Sound Master, and I looked at it and I looked carefully, and then it said, oops, Bluetooth. So it's clearly a modern device, but underneath is a nice Pioneer stereo receiver. Always nice to see those things. And just a picture of some of the boxes full of stuff that people were wheeling in. Friday's a very, very big day. And then Saturday, it's even bigger, and people bring in just wheel loads of these things to sell, and you never know what's going to turn up from one day to the other. So it really pays to keep going back. I couldn't tell what this was. It had no label on it at all, but it looks very much as though it is an audio amplifier, I would think, with either two channel gain controls and a balance control in the middle, or perhaps tone controls. It looks like the two sockets on the right are for 4-pin output tubes, and octal sockets in the middle. It's hard to tell what's on the left. The German radio tubes are very, very strange and difficult. Wonderful looking little recorder, tape recorder. The tape recorders like this used to sell for a great deal of money, and now you can buy them for $25 because nobody really wants them. And I believe it is a stereo device. This is a power transformer for a ham radio. You can see it's on a roll around cart, and it puts out 8,000 volts at an amp. And that translates into 8,000 watts of output from a transmitter. And I don't know how anybody could even lift this into their car, much less use the thing. But boat anchors like this are for large boats, and occasionally they sell at this show. Here's an output tank circuit that was supposed to go with the power supply, and there's no tube in this. It's mainly just tuning coils for the output. Maybe an antenna tuner, I don't know. This for me was the most interesting radio in the meet. It is a World War I radio direction finder receiver, and you can see a big tunable dial up there with calibrations on the dial, and down front you can see where a crystal detector was meant to go between those two clips on the right, and it looks like there's a little arc there, so that if this thing got hit by lightning, it would short out and not burn out your crystal detector. Just a very, very interesting thing. A lot of money, $450, and it was really in great shape. So I didn't have a lot of trouble resisting it, but I had a lot of trouble resisting taking pictures of it. And taking pictures of it is always interesting. The antenna connector is a little strange there. It looks almost like an N, but it definitely isn't. And then there's this little window over on the left, which makes me think that maybe it's also a transmitter, but I doubt it, because sometimes with World War I transmitters, you wanted to look at the spark gap when you were keying the thing. Okay. So it ended up being a puzzle, and a good puzzle. Mix of radios with shaky tom, so you can't really see them very well. This is, I think, I don't really know, little waves and grand waves. ONDES are waves. So I guess it's two bands, little wave band and grand wave band. And I guess these are tuners. So it's probably a receiver of some kind. I don't know if I can enlarge the
must be
yeah,
French
maybe
radio,
I can. Wait a minute, hold on here. Okay, yeah, there we go. Made in Paris, and the establishment Perera, but it doesn't say what it is. So it's a neat puzzle, and probably a receiver, but it's hard to know for sure. This thing looked really neat too. It was hard to figure out what it was, but it looked like it should have a home. I can see, I guess I have another picture of it that's a little better.
So that's like that looks like a fire or something.
I don't think it has any guts, but on the left side it says channel 1, and on the right side it says channel 2. And let's see if we can read anything on that.
It looks like a mixer board for
Yeah,
Yeah,
radio stations.
yeah. You see music, speech.
yeah, music and speech and so yeah, teeth and volume. Obviously, volume. We know what volume is, but it's an intriguing piece.
Great. It's got the bass and the treble.
Yeah, okay, that's it.
Adjusters.
Right,
Very interesting.
and two channels. So that's channel one. I guess you can maybe select these different inputs or outputs. Swag, oh, voice, okay, voice and music.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
looks symmetric on both channels.
yeah. And unfortunately, somebody had taken most of the guts out of it, or I might have been very, very tempted. And I don't know what this thing out in the front here is. Maybe connectors, but anyway, fun to look at and another interesting piece. Tubes, lots of tubes, and this is a Kolisi, maybe Russian.
That's unusual.
Yeah.
That's Russian. That's got that propaganda plug on it. So yeah, they gave you like 3 different things you could listen to depending upon where you plugged it in. And it looks
Oh.
like that one has a switch.
Ah,
Uh,
thank you. That's interesting.
Stalin radio.
Okay. And Edison, that maybe Edison, maybe something else. No markings on it. That's seen better days, but probably restorable without too much trouble. And lots and lots of the portable radios. They're very popular there.
Oh yeah.
This is an intriguing little thing. I don't know whether it's a toy or a real telephone, but I just love the looks of it, a wooden telephone. It just looked like something that needed a home in my basement. Oh, very difficult to walk around this show and keep your money in your pocket. This is a Russian spy radio used right up until recent times. The Russians bring these things to this meet and try and get money for them. And they just sneak them out. I think they steal them from the military base because sometimes you see that they have been hit with hammers, and sometimes you find singe marks on them where they'd been put in a big pile and gasoline had been thrown on the pile. And the guys come along and they take the one on the absolute bottom, realizing that the heat from a gasoline fire only goes up, and that if you pull stuff out of the bottom of a pile, it's going to be okay. The Russians destroyed stuff that they couldn't repair, and they did it typically by putting it in a big pile at a military base, having a bunch of grunts come along with a sledgehammer and bang on the thing, and then putting gasoline on it. And after the gasoline started burning, the guy in charge of the destruction would usually walk away. And that's the point at which someone would come along and grab one or two of these things out of the bottom and salvage it. That's how I have gotten most of the Russian Enigma machines that I've been able to come back with, is that people took them from military bases almost without exception. I find that they have singe marks on the outside. So somebody making a lot of money, and I'm having a wonderful time with this machine. This is another one. Possible singe marks on the case there on the right and left side of the case. This is a spy radio, quite recent, digital keyboard on it. On the left, you can see a bunch of batteries. It's a battery pack that you actually wear in a belt around your waist when you're using this radio. So each of those little square things with pinkish wires connecting to the next one is one cell of a portable battery set that made this radio work. And it is both a radio receiver and a radio transmitter. And the little button in the very center is a Morse code key for sending Morse code signals, possibly the one on the right. Interesting, Len, if things like that sell for only $200 or $300. Let me see, this one, if I read it correctly, is 350, no, sorry, 850 euros, but still quite a bargain for a relatively current Russian spy radio.
Not to mention it's got patina with those singe marks.
Yes. Okay, and this is, you can see on the right that same battery pack that's worn around the waist, and in the center here is a Special Forces radio that meant to be carried inconspicuously under your uniform coat, and for short range communications. And that little kinky looking thing that's sort of blackened back there is the antenna, and it pops up into a straight whip antenna when it's let out of its case there. This is another Russian spy radio meant to be carried on your body. You can see the leather straps to carry it, a little earphone that you can hear the audio with, and a telegraph key on this green thing for sending Morse code messages. Now it's interesting. This is a Geiger counter, fairly recent Russian Geiger counter, with the readout as a square box, and the actual Geiger-Mueller tube is the gray tube that's pointing away from us there. And this is a tank radio receiver that's used in a Russian T, whatever number it is, tank. And it's ruggedized, mounted in a shock base so that when the tank is crunching around, it doesn't hurt the operation of the radio. And again, pretty reasonable price for this fairly current device at 240 euros, which translates into $240. On the left, some more Russian equipment, an Enigma machine like device over there on the left. And it is used for encoding messages, and a Russian radio receiver, earphones on the left of that, various antennas and microphones for Russian radios, another Russian radio device, waterproof and sealed so you can carry it around with you. I keep coming back to this World War I radio. I had a very rough time with that. Every time I looked at it, I just said, how can I leave this thing here? It's just an extraordinary piece of history. This is the left side of it, and I couldn't get that little door open to figure out what was there. I don't know what these things were. You never know what you're going to find at this meet, but maybe
those are Groots.
Groot.
They're called Groot, Groot. And what that is a character from one of the Marvel movies.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. I never would have known that.
And the only reason why I know that is that was my wife's favorite character from that movie.
Oh, great.
Because we'll be driving somewhere and say, oh, look at that. It looks like Groot. Well, that's what Groot looks like.
And how do you spell that? Golf?
Groot. Google it after the meeting, Tom.
Okay, thank you. There it is.
Wow.
Yeah, like I say, you never know what you're going to find at this meet. Lots of great tubes, pretty good prices, and more tubes. More tubes. The tube guy was doing a great business. A couple of transmitting tubes on the left made in Russia. And he also was selling crystal detectors. And believe it or not, in Europe, crystal radios are still very, very popular because they don't take any electricity. And not all of the areas in Europe have electricity, especially in the outback of Russia. and other similar areas, and or places where electricity is hard to get at, and you want to listen into the radio. The larger detectors are primarily for people who want to build impressive looking crystal sets, but you could buy enough crystals for $1 to make yourself several crystal radios, and people did that, and they enjoy that. A bunch more tubes. This is a table we already looked at with the Quack medical device on the left and the old green horn on the right. And let me just zip through a couple of more things that are less interest. TV sets, as you would expect, sat there through the whole show. And luckily there was a garbage collector who picked up stuff that didn't get sold. That we have one also at Nearfest, where people who bring boat anchors and don't want to take them back home can take them to this guy, and he will recycle them and buy them and get the scrap metal price for them. A lot of
Hey, Tom, could you go back one before that last one? Do you see those things over on the very right? I'm just curious as to what those are. Do you see those? It looks like, I don't know if those are coils or if they're in a,
well, if you look, it says 220 volt on there.
okay.
Can you see that?
Yeah, okay, I can see that. I can see that. It's,
And I don't know. Oops, sorry. Let's see, we can get that bigger. I'm guessing that is a, yeah, I'm pretty certain that is a, how do I move it to the right? Can't do with that, no. Let's go back a little
that's
here.
okay. That's okay, Tom. I was just curious.
I think it's some kind of a heater would be my best guess, because those are clearly heating coils, and there's on ceramic, and they're suspended in what might be a bath. So maybe far reach would be, it could be a dummy load for a transmitter, I guess.
Right.
Whatever it is, it's designed to dissipate heat
Right.
from a 220 volt source.
All
Okay.
right, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see, we'll skip through those. These are classic World War II German radios. You'll see in any of the original movies that were made of troops during World War II. These are radios that you would see in field installations. And right up on top of that radio is a turn and bank indicator from a German World War II airplane. That you can see.
Oh, cool.
If I can, yeah, up there. The little glass vial with the ball in there tells you whether you're straight and level or whether you're upside down in your airplane when you're flying in a cloud. And there are a couple of dials there that give you your compass heading. So again, you don't know what you're going to find at these shows. Let's see what else. Overview of one end of one of the two rooms. This is a really beautiful spy radio. Again, I had a very tough time not giving them $1,500 for it. It is an early spy radio. You can see that there's a little telegraph key, a brass telegraph key, way over on the right side, on the right, to the right there. You can see that the receiver is tunable. You see a dial with numbers in it. I'm trying to figure out what the writing on it says. Maybe we can figure out. Let's see, hard to read.
Yeah.
Milliamps is not hard to read.
Right.
It could conceivably be a British spy radio. It almost looks as though they had purposely destroyed the writing.
Yeah.
All of the knobs that identify what the knobs do. ODB, NAD. Who knows? Anyway, it was very exciting to see, even though it was hard to tell what it was. Okay. And this is another very recent spy radio, tunable in megacycles, made to be transported in a vehicle and mounted in a shock mount for the vehicle. And let's see, this is yet another spy radio, and classic spy radio in a suitcase.
Oh, cool.
Place for a telegraph key, for earphones, and a little meter to tell you what the output is. The earphones are over on the left. Again, if you're collecting spy radios, this place is amazing. Things you never see at Dayton or any of the other hamfests in America. On the right, down in the corner, little dial is a handheld Enigma machine. It is a more recent version of the Enigma. You set the dial to a letter that you want to encrypt, and you push that little thumb lever sticking out the left, and it spins around these letters in the behind the glass dome there, and it gives you an encrypted version of the letter that you're trying to encrypt. So that's a very fun thing. Those are sell for about $5,000, and the spy radios usually sell for about that, 5,000. This is looks like a space gun of some kind, but it's actually just a probe for looking for electromagnetic fields. So you use this thing, hook it up to a meter, you can tell how strong the electric field is in the area that you're monitoring. Back to that radio, another view of a different radio, and onward. What do you think, John? Is that about enough for?
Yeah, I think this is great. This is, I really appreciate it, Tom. These are really great photos. Some really interesting and unusual pieces. So
So I'll remember where we are, and try to come back to that when.
you can roughly use the marker, the suitcase spy radio is a rough marker, because that's pretty memorable. That was also pretty cool, being so complete.
Tom, what is that device to the radio center top? There's something to the left there. That thing, yeah.
It looks to me.
It looks like a pig.
Looks to me as though that is half of an earphone, but it could also be the front of a camera case. Let's see if I can look at it a little more closely. Oh, it's getting to look very weird.
No, I'm beginning to wonder about that pig suggestion.
Yeah,
it looks like it's got those ears, or what is that up on top?
Yeah, I think that's earphones. I think this is a flight helmet for an aircraft. Those are earphones, because if you look over to the left, I don't know how do I get to the left with this thing? Oh, here I can go left with this slider. Okay, you look to the left, you see that there's a very early a gyro from an early airplane up there sitting on top of the World War II radio that's under it. So that gyro and this helmet would make sense as World War I vintage military aircraft stuff.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Just the variety and unusual.
It's part of the fun of the meet is just figuring out what you're looking at.
Yeah, absolutely. That's really cool. Well, thank you, Tom. That was great. We'll look forward to the next meeting for you to pick up.
Cool stuff. Thanks.
Oh yeah. So today's theme was generally to be New England made radios or from the Northeast, and that includes any vintage electronics. So I was wondering if anyone wanted to sort of show off their local stuff, this area that might want to show.
Yeah, I got a slide set, Rhode Island stuff.
That'd be great, Len. I figured you'd be game for that, because your collection is always dedicated solely to Rhode Island made radios.
So can I share my screen?
You should have share, if, oh wait, let me make sure I do. Yes, you do have share, Grant. Oh, look at this.
Wow, that's beautiful.
Really neat.
Trying to see how to make this larger. Oh, there you go. All right, so this is a India Ivory Company in Providence. That's really a Beaver Grand crystal set, which are kind of common, but they put a clock with it. They're not connected in any way, but it's kind of a clock, early clock radio.
No, neat.
This is a Bell Junior fixed crystal set from Bell Products Company in Providence. Kind of simple. All right, so this is a WECO, William E. Cheever Company, Providence, Rhode Island. Another crystal set. They called it the Stowell. It's the biggest one. They had 3 versions, 3 different sets, and this is the biggest one, called the Stowell.
What does WECO stand for? Do you know, Len?
I think it's like William E. Cheever Company.
Uh-huh.
I think it's kind of a conglomerate of that. All right, so this is their medium size set called the WECO Junior. Same company.
Understand. And the directions, is that from that set from just the inside?
That's on the bottom.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, sure. Edgewood, Rhode Island.
And this is their small one. They call it the Gem. They had a few different versions of this. These connectors were changed on some of them, and then also the detector changed a little. I'm not sure if I posted the other ones. Oh no, I didn't. All right, so this is a set that I've really been searching for. It's called the Symphonic. It's by Kodo Coil Company in Providence. This is a picture I grabbed off the internet. And I'd love to find one of these if I could.
So, all points bulletin, right, Len?
Yeah.
It's got a Jones plug on there. Does that help date it at all? Well,
I kind of think that's something somebody modern put on, recently.
Yeah.
To hook maybe to the batteries they had.
Yeah, if it was made in 25, it probably didn't have a Jones.
Yeah, I don't think it had that now.
Okay.
So this is a Selecto 5, 1923, the Electrical Products Manufacturing Company, DIMAC. Now that was in Providence. This set I do have.
Oh, okay.
What got adjusted with the detector there, Len? It said there was an adjustment that said detector on the left.
I'm not really sure. It says I guess you could turn it on and off, but I don't see why you would do that.
Yeah.
Oh, unless that's the volume. You turn the radio on and then. Oh no, it says amplifier there though.
Yeah.
That's probably the volume. I'm not really sure. I got to look into that.
Yeah, it'd be fun if you find out. Let us know because an adjustable detector is it would be interesting to know what's behind there.
Yeah, I'll look at that. Now this is not the Ford Motor Company. It was the Ford Radio Company in Providence.
Ah.
And they made these little radios, and this is actually all cardboard. And fake, fake leather covering on it.
Oh,
it's pretty fragile altogether. And it's a 1-tube set. They sold for $6. I've seen a few ads where they will be given away with cars and stuff like that, but that was in Providence, 1924.
really neat.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. Especially being made of cardboard.
Yeah, I know. It's amazing.
All right, so these are Giblin Radioware crystal sets. There's two of them here. They had a small one. They had no storage area, and then this is their big one. They had storage area for the coils and the headphones.
Hmm. Very interesting. Are these in your collection, Len?
Yeah. Most of these are for my collection. All right, so here's one with a very small storage area. Same company, basically the same set here though, in all the different versions. All right, so this is the same company, and it's a one tube set. And Giblin is the name of the company, but it's a Standard Radio and Electric Company in Providence.
Hmm.
This is actually the radio that got me started in Rhode Island radios, and it's a Radioware type RL 6-tube set, and matching loop antenna that goes with it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just saw a guy in Lincoln, Rhode Island that was selling stuff, and I went and saw him, and I ended up buying the set, and then from then on, I just started looking at Rhode Island stuff.
Ah, so that kicked off the whole.
Yeah, that kicked the whole thing off. And actually, this set was sold at the Eller Company in Providence. It was, I don't know if you know about it. It's like a retail store that was in Providence.
Oh, okay.
So it has it printed right on the radio itself.
That's interesting. Really interesting. Provenance from Providence.
Yeah. Now this is actually the same set internally as that one I saw. I'd love to find this set, but it's also a Radioware here, 2RA3, which means 2 RF stages and 3 audio stages. And obviously there's the detector stage in there too. I'd love to find this one. This is another picture I grabbed off the internet.
Now that detector has an adjustment also, and I wonder, could it be filament voltage? Would they tweak that?
Yeah, that's possible, I guess. Yeah, that's a good guess.
It'd be kind of scary to play with a filament on a tube.
Yeah.
And the left hand says stabilizer.
Oh,
Yeah, I think that's
Might be really fun if you could find the manual for that, and it might explain those too.
Yeah, I actually have an article that tells you how to tune that other one, so I imagine you could use it for this one because it's basically the same radio.
Fascinating.
Now this is also the same company called the Philharmonic in Providence. See, it says Thomas P. Giblin there.
Oh yeah.
And actually, it's Pawtucket. It's not even Providence.
Oh, okay.
I didn't change that.
Cabinet. Quite an elegant cabinet.
Can you come back on that, the previous one? Read the full of real life like reproduction, full of character, personality, and detail, with external noises at a minimum, and innovation no other set possesses. What? Whoever wrote that is.
Yeah.
That's
Oh,
great.
that was the beginning of My Pillow marketing right there.
Yeah, exactly.
225.
Yeah, it's
That's hardy.
yeah, it's pretty high. Yeah.
Wow. How interesting. An elegant looking cabinet. I like the look.
Yeah. Yep.
It is attractive.
Now this is a 1-tube radio. I actually got this from John Terry, which I think originally it came from Wally Worth. It was his set. Also doesn't say it anywhere, but it's the Standard Radio and Electric Company, 1-2 Regenerative in Providence. Now this is Radio Air Type C. Now this again is the same radio basically as those other two. And it has a Timmins speaker on it, built in, horn speaker. And then also it had a small loop antenna that goes with it.
And it also has the stabilizer and the detector knobs adjustments.
Yeah, yep. They're basically the same set inside, just laid out a little different.
Yeah. Wow.
Now this is another Giblin set. They tried to go to an electric radio. And this, I don't know if this was a prototype, but it's called a music box, which although I did find an ad for it, so I guess it's not really a prototype, but and it's kind of in rough shape inside. But you know, mice lived in it, and but because it was, you know, made in Providence, I ended up buying it.
So it says the only set that does not have a B eliminator.
Yeah,
Built in the set or as a separate power unit, an exclusive feature no other set possesses. So does that mean that that it's just using the line with no?
it has those. I can't think of the number of the tube, but they have AC filaments. All the tubes inside are that type of tube. I cannot think of the tube number off the top of my head, but
Wow.
I don't think it says it here.
And they got $73 for that, huh? That's a lot of money in those days.
Yeah, complete
Sure
with the
was.
speaker and the tubes. Yeah, that was pretty cheap compared to their other radios.
Yeah.
Now this is another set of sets I'd like to find at some point. And you know, it's a receiver, a detector, and 2-stage amp. And it was $50 complete. That's an ad for it. And 3 little boxes. I've never even seen one of these. Here's you put a plug-in coil up here. You know, a dual lateral coil plug in there for different bands you want to tune.
So again, I'm reading real close on that thing, and it's describing the detector. It says receives either local or distant stations with perfect clearness. So I guess as you adjust the dial on the detector, maybe it changes the gain, local and distant.
Yeah, I think that's probably the filament they're talking about on that detector tube.
Yeah.
But the different bands are this first section, the tuner, and you plugged in coils. Actually, I got a coil right here. I don't know if you can see it, but all right. Now these are all by a guy called Hanscom. He was in Providence also, 1920s. These are all his sets that he made, all different versions of his sets. I think I got an ad on the next page. Oh no, I don't.
Wow, I've never seen any of these before.
Now this is FN Howard Company in Providence, and it's a fixed crystal detector. That's the fixed crystal, which is a food mineral company crystal.
So that's just a binding post on the top. Nothing's adjustable. Is that it?
Right, and it had like a little clamp that clamped around the body.
Uh-huh.
for the other connection. Yeah, it's just that's just a binding post.
Wow.
Hey, Len,
Yeah.
is there something that is remarkable about Rhode Island and radios, or would this have been typical in other cities along the in New England?
Well, I think that once the super heterodyne receiver, they patented that and wouldn't let anybody use it. All these little mom and pop shops opened up, and all these shops went out of business. So they were in business before that, but so it's all pre-super heterodyne stuff in Providence. I think that's my theory.
So, so Providence or Rhode Island would have been unique, say, in New England for this activity.
No, I don't think so. I don't think they're unique. There was a lot. Actually, I started out doing just New England radios when I first started, way back. And I mean, Massachusetts had loads of little companies too, and I don't think it was unique to Rhode Island at all.
Okay, thank you.
This is a little portable set, inlaid company. I don't own this set.
Still carrying portable radio, very nice.
Another one I'd love to find. All right, so this is Martin Copeland Company, which they made radios. I think they also made eyeglasses. They made a load of different things in Providence. And it's a 5-tube set. It has a built-in horn. And it's the Marcophone R5.
$242.
Now, this is also Martin Copeland. This was a kit. On the left, you see somebody built it into a glass wooden base with a glass panel on the front. But this is the kit itself.
How interesting.
And this, I mean, this kit is pristine. It's like still has.
Wow, so that's in your collection, Len. But we just lost audio with you there, Len. Yep, still don't have you.
Check the mute button.
Well, uh-oh, is Len going through what I just did? Is Windows machine getting updated?
Oh no.
Oh no. Give Len another moment or two. We can always hand off to somebody else and hand back to Len when he's able to rejoin. Let's see if I still see him. He's still there. Got Len, but Len, we somehow don't have you completely. You're still presenting. I'm just gonna see if I can help him out and just keep him out of presenting. Hey, Len, I just bumped you up. Maybe it's just to let you bump in. But meanwhile, maybe just for now until we get Len back reset here. Does anyone else have anything they want to show in the New England or the greater Northeast area?
Well, I have a request.
Sure.
I'm sure this is the right venue and the right audience. Recently, let me get back a little bit. Recently, when my daughter was visiting, I was showing her an LP record from my father, and inside the record cover itself, it was a 12-inch LP. Inside, there was this little 6-inch envelope. And
Oh,
inside the envelope is a recording.
hmm.
And the importance of the recording is my father made this recording as he entered the Navy in 1944. And the outside of the envelope, I will read it because it's backwards on the screen, is from the San Diego Army and Navy YMCA. He was in the Navy. This is 79 years old, and I've determined it's probably a 78 RPM record that servicemen were enabled to send messages to their family at home before they left for duty in the Pacific.
Oh, okay.
So my request is whether someone could direct me to somebody in the club that had equipment that could play this 78 recording and make a digital copy so I could hear what it said of my father's voice 79 years ago.
And
So
the wrong needle or the wrong pressure could destroy it. So ideally, you'd want a very light needle that maybe would have been used on an LP because it wouldn't destroy the record. And it probably would still follow the audio.
Yeah, it might be a micro groove type recording as opposed to the wide trench of the typical 78 RPM. So you want to have a turntable that would go at the 78 RPM rate, have the light touch, but also have like a 0.7 mil stylus tip as opposed to a 1 or greater to get the best result.
Yeah, and what 1 ounce of pressure of stylus pressure would that be?
Well, no, I'm probably on the order of back in that day, probably 4 to 5 grams, I would think, is probably going to be the stylus pressure. I was talking about a 0.7 mil, like for the stylus, for
The other thing you got to realize with this, however, is you don't really need a 78 RPM because there's plenty of freeware and everything where you can just multiply the speed, and it might actually be a safe thing to do. You might want to try it. I actually do have a turntable that will do 78 RPM that has stereo output into a regular
yeah.
And you could just feed that into a computer. Like I said, there are some very good programs if you wish to change speed or clean things up. You can kind of get carried away, but you might want to, Bruce, you might want to ask if you're on the IO groups, if there's anyone local to you that could do that. But if not, I'll be glad to help. I have done those types of things in the past.
Yeah, that's a great idea because I have 2 of those kinds of records that were made by my great grandmother and my grandmother making a recording. They did 2 different ones, and they were like 7-inch small hole.
Yeah.
And I've listened to them on a 78 RPM turntable with a narrow stylus tip that I have, but it's just an analog, practically a toy kind of record player. I never thought to try to digitize them. I do have a CD recorder, but I guess that's about as much as I could do. I don't have any other means of, trying to digitize and hook up to a computer or anything like that. But that's a great idea. I should
Well, thank you.
that.
Thank you, Howard. We'll communicate at a later date, and maybe I could arrange to visit during the next NEVIC meet in Brookline.
That's right, and that's not that far away, September 30th.
Thank you very much for that.
Quick reminder, but yeah. I guess we still have Len here. Does anyone else have anything they want to show from the? Of course you do.
Well, I got a couple. I'm the Southern Connecticut boy, though, and so I've taken a little bit of liberty. This was kind of tough. I didn't do the slideshow, and I was trying to find things that were small enough to be able to show, but because some of my stuff gets a little large at times. But
You're gonna hold up one of your branded consoles.
This is my Southern Connecticut Rudy Bozak, one of my pair of outdoor patio speakers that are meant for outdoor use. It has its own little built-in tripod on the bottom. It's just kind of hard to show off here, and it's sort of like a kettle drum, and it has a coaxial speaker in it, a 5-inch woofer and a tweeter, aluminum tweeter that's in there. And these were from the mid to late 1950s. They made them till about 61 or 62 in Norwalk, Connecticut. So that's my New England thing.
That's cool. I've never seen one of those.
Is that waterproof, Noah? Is it?
I mean, I always, I keep it on a patio that has an overhang. I have a pair of them, and they're supposed to be waterproof. But at this stage of the game, I don't want to risk anything because of
When you look in at it, can you see a membrane over or maybe the diaphragm of the cone is plastic?
It's the diaphragms. The diaphragms are the tweeter is aluminum, and the woofer is also aluminum with like a rubberized coating on top of it. And it's hard to see in the picture with me holding it up, but the face is not flat on that speaker. It's indented, so the actual drivers are about 3 or 4 inches in from the outer rim.
Okay.
So it's pretty well protected. I wouldn't aim a garden hose at it or anything like that, and I think it's got a handle on top. So I think it was kind of made to, be carried out and put out on the patio for your party that you were going to have outside when you had friends over or something. I don't think it was meant to be, left out through spring, summer, fall, and winter.
Yeah.
So
very neat.
But it's a pretty cool thing.
Yeah.
Then I have to slip just over the border from Connecticut into New York is about as best I could do. At least it's what it says on the back of this. This is my Emerson radio, which is a battery portable radio, but it also comes with this cable that has this very strange power cord on it, which is essentially the power supply to turn it from AC into DC. And it's a cute little, if I open the thing up here, I can kind of let you see the inside of that.
Oh yeah.
And it's a nice little radio, and it plays well. And luckily I do have the power cord / power supply that comes with it, that just plugs in the back, because I wouldn't be able to get the right kind of batteries to put in it. So that's my Emerson that I was able to show because I could pick it up. And then also from down the street from there, there's an ICO.
Oh yeah.
Little radio, and ICO is also from New York. It's a
very nice
little transistor radio, and I don't really know exactly about, but on the back of the radio, WJ. I don't know whether that's it's a monogrammed radio because it belonged to somebody, or what the PWJ is. So if anybody knows about PWJ being on the back of an ICO,
I know what
radio
PWJ is.
Yeah, exactly. This is PWJ.
Would that be a kit? Is that the ICO? Is that a kit?
I don't think so.
ICO made kits mainly. I think.
Yeah, I think that was a kit.
You think it was a kit?
Okay. And the initials of the guy that built it is PW.
Now this is just.
Unless he was.
That's all this is, and you're great. You're very intentional. You know your numbers.
So it's
wow. Sounds pretty good there, Noah.
Yeah, no, it's not bad. Let me see. What else do I have? This is sort of cheating, and you guys probably know this better than I do. I didn't bring anything in that said AT&T on it, but I think if you take AT&T and RCA Victor and General Electric,
Yeah,
you
that's New
kind
York.
of get in the ballpark there
Yeah.
from New York, and I guess if you stretched it, GE in Massachusetts, obviously, but they didn't make radios there at that plant in Lynn. But what was it? GE and RCA and AT&T, they all were kind of a conglomerate at one point in time. But that was in New York. And then the last thing that I have, because they're in the living room and I wasn't going to drag them in, but a little bit further north in Endicott, New York, I have my Macintosh Model C4 preamplifier, or as they called them back then, a record compensator, not really a preamp. And it was mono, and you used it with your MC30 30-watt tube amplifier from Endicott, New York. So I have two each, and so that's my stereo that theoretically has just about infinite dB of separation between the channels. They only have crosstalk back somewhere up at like Niagara Falls where the power gets generated for the wall socket, because it's bi-monaural. It's not really stereo. But I play my stereo records through it. I have a stereo turntable hooked up to it, and the left goes to one of the C4 preamps and the right goes to the other C4 preamp, and those are both connected to the power amp. And the interesting thing about the preamp is that, because it's Macintosh and they're really crazy, but on the side of the unit, you can see they almost look like tube sockets that are on the side there, but there are umbilical cords, because to keep the noise down in the preamp, the B plus for the tubes in the preamp comes from the power supply in the power amplifier, so that there's no high voltage rectification going on inside the preamp to keep the noise down. However, there is a power cord coming out of the preamp, because there is low voltage rectification going on. There's a transformer, and the 12-volt filaments that run the preamp tubes in the preamplifier are not AC filaments. They're DC filaments for the heaters, so that there'll be no hum induced into the preamp stages by using, how dare you want to use 6.3 volts or 12 volts AC on your Macintosh preamp filaments. You must use DC on the filaments, so that there's no possibility of getting any hum out of that signal. So
Interesting.
All right, so that's it.
Good stuff, Noah. A wide variety. Bravo, bravo. Anybody else? I see Len, we got you back.
Yeah, I ended up having to reboot and then Zoom updated. So
join the club.
Yeah.
It must be a Windows update night for every.
Mine is. I've got the little orange ball down on the side. Mine is scheduled for 11 p.m. So hopefully it doesn't launch before then. But I did get the Zoom update when I logged in to the beginning of the.
Yeah, I got bombarded with everything. Firefox, Zoom, Windows. God knows what got updated. I just got hammered for 45 minutes. Oh, that was awful. But hey, Lynn, did you want to pick up and finish up where you finish up?
Yeah, I just got a few more slides.
Yeah, go ahead. Because I felt badly that you got kicked off there, but.
Okay, so I think this is where we left off.
Yeah, that looks about right. You were talking about you have this kit at home.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I ended up getting it up at one of the meets in New Hampshire.
Wow, beautiful. I mean, that's really cool.
All right, so this is another company, Royal Electric Company in Providence. They made a bunch of different versions. They're basically all the same set. Like on the 2-dial, this first dial is actually gained 2 tuning circuits, where on the 3-dial, it's all separate circuits. And they had some nice graphics on the front,
Yeah.
like these peacocks. And then if look at this, there's a couple of little nymphs on there, and they're like blowing horns.
How interesting.
And there's another console versions of the same set with built-in horns.
Yeah. I like that. How elegant. Does that open up, or is that just closed, that piece below the radio and the speaker?
No, that's all empty space.
Got
Just the top opens up and the horns is behind the chassis of the radio.
Got it.
Curves out and comes out here. Now then they went into some electric sets. Also polyroyal.
Nice.
And here's a couple of other sets that I'm searching for, made by them. I haven't seen.
All these ads are nice touches, Len, by the way.
Yeah, they kind of explain everything, so they're good to find.
Yeah, it's very nice.
Now, this is a company called Supertone Radio Company in Bristol, Rhode Island. And they had a few different types of sets. And the guy that ran this company actually went on the bird expeditions to, I guess he went to the Antarctica. He was the guy that ran this company.
Oh, wow.
And last but not least, the Willerman Manufacturing Company in Providence. They made these little crystal sets.
Yeah.
And the only real difference is the detector setup on them. Like this one's fixed. And this is your cat Swisco with different configurations.
Were they made as kits, or did they sell them fully put together?
No, I think they were fully put together, yeah.
Wow.
I've never seen an ad for them. So I don't think they were kits.
Mhm.
And that's it.
Oh, that was great, Len.
Those are great.
Thanks.
I'm gonna have to start investigating to see what radio companies existed in Texas.
Yeah. I imagine they were there. I think every state had them.
Probably. Now, maybe with Texas, they had little steer horns on the top.
Right.
Yeah.
I have a general question. I'm wondering when the AM broadcast band sort of became formalized, 550 to 1600 kilocycles. Anybody have an idea when that happened? Because most of these radios, I imagine, had to tune that band.
I want to say 1923. It really became official. There was something that was made, I forget the name of it, in 1922, and that was like okay, let's get together and standardize this. There was a name for it, and I forgot what it was, but I think that's when it happened, Tom.
Oh, thank you. That's always wondered about that, because
Okay.
that's not long after they outlawed Spark.
Yeah.
Spark transmission, which is all frequencies at once.
Oh, yeah. No, thank you, Len. That was really good. Really enjoyed that. I can pop you off. Did anyone else have something you wanted to show up in the area?
I mentioned before I bought a bunch of radios near me, and about 100 of them from the hoarder. And he had about 5 or 6 cars sitting in the yard. I can show you some pictures of the car if you want to see them.
Hey, I'll look at anything. Why not?
All right, let me set this up. Hold on here.
You have sharing privileges.
Yeah. Let me see if this is going to work. This is one. Can you guys see it?
Oh, a 56 Ford.
Fairlane.
Fairlane. That's a nice. That's a better than average model. That's in pretty nice. I mean,
Yeah.
salvageable shape. I mean, look at that. It
Yeah.
looks more complete.
Yeah, but a lot of these, like if you, I didn't take a picture of the other end of it, but you see a car door here in the back from something else. I don't know. I don't think that car is even here, but you can see a headlight is messed up. Might be missing the rear bumper for all I know. Next one. Let me see if I could. That's a Kaiser, I think.
Oh, it's a custom, like a 40.
Somebody chopped the roof.
Yeah, it looked that way.
It's definitely got that Kaiser roof line.
Yeah, it's got the Kaiser. Yeah, I thought it was a Ford, but no, you're right. No, you are right. It's a Kaiser, all right. Because look at that. The Kaiser.
Oh, yeah, the roof is pillared in the middle.
Yeah.
And it looks like a TR6 in the back.
And that's a 55 or 60.
It's the T-Bird.
Yeah, it's a T-Bird, all right.
Yeah.
5 or 6. All right. There we
Yeah,
go.
it is.
55 because I don't see a Conti kit, so probably Conti.
Yeah, I think that's a 5.
Looks and if it's got the but it does. I see through the windscreen it's got the Astro dial speedometer because it's got that little clear plastic.
Oh yeah, yep, good catch. Yep.
No, but that's looks salvageable. I mean that it looks,
yeah, none of these. I don't think they're. I was expecting them to be like rusted to the door handles.
I'll show you next thing. This next thing I love. This Econoline thing.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Those are cool.
This is great. The trouble is they've been storing old chemicals on the seat, but like turpentine, all kinds of chemicals are in there, and it's like a cesspool inside of it. But I mean, this is just the styling of this. I mean, it's amazing. If I had the money, I'd buy it, but then I don't have the time to restore it. But I mean, that is cool. But you can see how the tires are melting, falling into the ground, and
wide white walls, no less, because that's they go back to like the early '60s. And I don't know what year this because they all look the same of that era. So this is probably early mid '60s.
Yep.
That's the '60s.
But it's cool.
That Ford straight 6 in it.
Yeah, they're indestructible. You can get the thing running. They just run for a few 100,000 miles without a problem. And it is cool. It's because both of them were vans, so see as a pickup. It's actually really cool.
I mean, I think it's great. I even like the color. I mean, it's just it's
I think you can buy it, John.
No, I don't know. See, to restore those, I don't have the technical knowledge to restore.
Think of how many radios you could put in the back of that.
Yeah,
that's what I thought.
It's like
that's a flea market vehicle.
Yeah, yeah, but it's a very cool car.
It is.
And they had this. Oh no, this doesn't have the suicide doors. This is a sedan.
Oh, it's a town car.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say it looks like a Chrysler product.
No,
it's a Lincoln.
It's a stinking Lincoln, probably late
Continental
70s,
coupe.
mid to late 70s.
What threw me off is it's missing its wheel. It's fender skirts. So it looked Chrysler like in the rear. I'm looking in the rear back.
Well, it's there's no quarter panel left for the skirt to attach to.
It needs to go through the car wash. It'll be fine.
Yeah. No. So you have to use the proper phraseology. The proper phraseology is it'll buff out.
Yeah,
exactly.
But,
I don't know. From this perspective, it looks like it's got so much cancer on that cobalt treatments won't help it.
Yeah. No. No.
I mean, it's really messed up here.
And it's not as cool as the older ones that we already saw.
Exactly. If it was pristine, but.
I mean, and here's the view of just some pictures of inside the house. They had everything in this house. They have a welder there of some type.
That's a TIG welder.
This is
throw that automatic charger on that Econoline.
Yeah.
This is a cool radio. Now it's again, the lighting in this house was terrible. I mean, bulbs were blown out. This is a interesting helicopter. It says S-36, but the escutcheon says S-27, and it weighs about 100 pounds. And I have this in my garage. It came with the original manual, and I thought something was wrong here. Maybe they replaced this over here because of the different model numbers. But the picture in the manual shows the S-36 and the S-27.
Right. And I think it's the UHF receiver, is it not?
It's the
Yes.
high frequency version of that thing. It's got 3 bands on it. I got it up on my phone. It's 27 and 40 to 47, 46 to 82, and then 82 to 143. So it'll even go through the 2-meter band.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of I remember seeing a couple of these. It's an odd receiver.
Yeah, I have it in the garage. This kind of thing was sitting in the living room. This Hallicrafters. This is a picture in the attic area. So these pictures are gonna suck now, like this. He had all this military equipment laying around. That's some kind of receiver. Let me see if I can. It's a BC 638. This one was made by Bendix, but he had this stuff. You can't believe the amount of stuff here.
Wow.
And these the things he took, so like 2-liter soda bottles, cut them, and made parts receptacle parts bin. I don't know what
Part storage.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. Parts storage. No. Here, signal military. Here's a close up. He had probably 100 of these. How he stored parts.
Yeah. Jeez.
This is a Type 50M, some kind of receiver. These were in the attic, made by Technical Radio.
TMC, that's very respected.
Yeah. This is the tube area. They have this Western Electric stuff, which I threw out, of course. No, I didn't get the I didn't get the tubes yet. But you could see here might be some in there, but a lot of these tubes are crap. And because he never tested any of the equipment, I'm sure not one of these tubes have been tested. Anyway, there's an ignition analyzer from Heathkit. Yeah. Here he had stuff piled on top of each other. Here's
I think that's a Panasonic sitting right below the bottom. I think that's an RE7750. Just a guess, but I think it is.
This one here?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Panasonic. I think I read it.
Yeah, here we had like a SX43 and a Hallicrafter speaker on top. That's a Fisher receiver. That's a Fisher 400. I'm just taking pictures. Military stuff everywhere.
I'll take the Fisher.
Yeah, I took that, but I already I took the Fisher. You see all kinds of military stuff. Oh, this was interesting. A Hammerland. What is this? Was a
Sideband adapter.
Yeah, that sold for some decent money, and you have the speaker there. That's I don't know what that was. A very scary person. Here's a Hallicrafter transceiver, an FPM, I think 300, SX42, I believe. Or is that a 43? That's a 42. Power supplies everywhere. This company here, Pyramid, he must have had 10 of these laying around. Gonsit indicator. This is a Radio Shack or Realistic DX160.
Yeah.
This is a ICOM IC275 transceiver, and he even wrote down the dates when he bought them, but he never touched them. And by the way, he used some kind of grease pencil on just about everything. To get that grease pencil off, I had to use Gugon. I don't know if you've seen that stuff.
Yep.
That's a nice amplifier, linear amplifier. That's an RCA. What do you call it? It's a piece
I think that might be a TV generator.
Yeah, it's a marker thing. Another Hallicrafter speaker. This stuff was all over, nothing in order. That's an ICOM IC2400, which I actually have one of those in a box downstairs. That's a 2-meter, I believe 2 and a 2 meter and 144 mega or 440 megahertz transceiver. A robot slow scan TV equipment. I mean, this is like, holy shit.
Wow.
Military. Oh, here's a carcass of a Hallicrafter.
That's a hollow state radio.
Ah,
A Yaesu antenna rotator
yeah.
controller. So a bunch of ICO stuff laying around. This is a
Signal tracer.
yeah, okay. And here he writes down the dates of everything when his guy was he never touched anything, but he wrote down all this stuff. Sometimes here he says calibrated, but who knows? Oh, here all of a sudden SX 101 front panel. This is some, I don't know. Sometimes I would just take photos. Here, this is sitting on the floor. This way, this was a 1-unit thing. And you had 8 of these going across. The same damn thing. Bought 8 of them. Yeah, see, they're same thing, just some have modules missing. Oh, there's the R274 Hallicrafter military receiver. He had 2 of these. They're very nice. That's a military stuff. I mean, it's just, this is all crap laying around. I'm just gonna zip through this. And it's the lighting in this place is horrible. That's a nice Hallicrafter speaker. That's an RF signal generator. Another Hallicrafter speaker.
Heathkit.
Or we call, I think back in the day we might have called them grief kit, but there's some kind of might be an antenna tuner device. Oh, I got a couple of these. They fold out to, they're basically were used with radio detection,
Direction finder.
Direction finder.
They go with the PRC-6 walkie-talkies.
Yeah, and you know, it's kind of a cool device. Oh, this is nice. A TV7A tube tester. Nice. I like the dial on this.
Yeah.
It's very cool. More stuff just piled everywhere. I think this was underneath one of the workbenches. Back here is a Heathkit Seneca, which was a transmitter.
Was that the sideband one?
I believe so. It's a yes. Oh, I know it's a Heathkit Seneca. It's a VHF-1. It's the model number. It weighs like 50 pounds, and in front of it, more military stuff. It just piles of stuff everywhere.
Wow.
I mean, this is.
You'd spend your lifetime going through this.
Yeah. Oh, this stuff here. What this is? This was in the. I'm sorry. I'm going. This was in the
old television.
Yeah, I'm still taking stuff out of this house. That stuff's still sitting here. He would take things apart, and the cabinet for these are the same TV chassis. The cabinet was in another room, so he was going to work on these. It's an Emerson. And he had these pan adapter things everywhere. He had like a half dozen.
Yeah. Look at all those. If you go back, look at all those cans of all those electrolytic capacitors, because all the high voltage stuff, they were all like doublers and triplers. It's like $100 worth of electrolytics just to get the power supply put back together.
To get high voltage in that, you got to replace basically in that kind of TV, you got to replace 35, 40 capacitors.
Yeah, it's crazy.
That thing on the left is a Singer pan adapter standing up on the side.
I may have that in my garage. I may have taken it already.
Yeah, that's a great pan adapter. Singer actually was the first to come up with the concept of a pan adapter and let you look at a whole band on your CRT.
Yeah.
It's like a little audio amplifier there. I could see like a power transformer and then an audio transformer right in front of it. Yeah, that thing.
Yeah, that was he had some partial things he just slapped together. There were other things I kept finding that were hidden under other things. Like I found a Bogan TA amp that used two 807 tubes as the output.
Wow.
That thing, and it weighed like 60 pounds. It was insane. And here you have, just different things in this attic. I mean, like it just kept going. And anyway, it just, it's something you can't even see. It just because of the lighting in there. Oh, these are I believe these are Jeep radios. Transceivers. All these, nothing like having 10 or 15 of the same damn thing.
Wow.
They were all over the place, and they had power supplies. And
Surprised they're not all packed in Cosmoline.
Yeah.
Back in the 50s, I used to bid on government auction stuff, and you generally would get 10 of something. And I always put a dollar bid in on things, and that was before they had a minimum bid. So every once in a while, for $10, I get 10 racks full of equipment.
Just bring a trailer.
This, I could not figure out what this was. It looks like, well, antenna trimmer.
Looks like a receiver.
Oh, was this it might
The receiver.
Yeah, it's it's just weird. This was sitting in a rack. I think it's still there. There's still stuff I got to take out of there. Oh, this is an interesting speaker. This is in one of the living rooms.
That's very interesting.
And it had like a 12 or 15-inch speaker in it. It was a Jensen. It was a Dick Jensen speaker.
That makes sense.
And it was an interesting thing.
What's sitting on top of it?
This.
Yeah.
You have a SX. I'm not sure. I think that's an SX62, maybe.
SX71, and then you got the 62 underneath of it.
And on top of it, this is
that's the HE KT200. Yeah, that's the left-hand version.
This is the kit version, the KT.
Yeah, those were actually made by Kenwood.
Trio. Yeah. That was a cool.
And those are really good radios, by the way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let me see. Did I run out of pictures here? I think I did. All right. Well, anyway,
that was fun.
Yeah, I do have some more of those pictures. I mean, it's just I have a whole like you can't I have more of it's just nuts. What I could give you an idea here. Let me just see if I'm gonna go back. Hold on a second.
And is this all on Long Island somewhere?
Yeah, all in one house, yeah.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And the guy was quite nuts. This was his operating thing. And there's another of those R274s. And I was just sitting there. I mean, that's more transceivers. Now here, let me explain. The next three pictures, this is about a 10-foot long bench of stuff sitting on it. And you can see everything from Hallicrafters to Yaesus here.
Yeah.
And now this is the next picture is to the right of it. All these are sitting together. This is how I found them on the bench, and a lot of them were actually could be powered up. They were plugged in, and air. Well, this didn't come out too well, but this is all like a 10-foot long bench. Now, this thing is one of the heaviest things known to man.
Yeah.
It's a Hallicrafter linear amplifier that weighed like 100 pounds, and you have Yaesu up here, MFJ. It's and this is this rack had a pan adapter, and this is the power supply for it. This is some radio compass, which we have, and in this rack, it'll get a close up. The SP600, R390, and That's I'm not sure what. Let me see here. I can't. Oh, let me go back. Hold on. Yeah, that's the R390 SP600. Oh, and that's an HT32 transmitter. And that thing, this thing here, that's that receiver I showed you earlier. This stuff was all over the place. Look at the test equipment, no order to anything. Another there was like, there must have been 3 or 4 SX101s and 2 or 3 SX71s. Military. If we saw, I don't know if we saw all these photos here, but it just never end. Oh, he had probably 100 of the, I call these invasion of the body snatcher pods.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was interesting idea, except trouble is to open it, you have to turn it upside down and pull the bottom off. They're made from 2-liter soda cans. Yeah, he had them all over the place. And it just, he had stuff laying around, you couldn't just, test equipment, more of those. That's the back of that 10-foot bench, back of all that equipment.
Boy. You have to clean this all out, huh, John?
What's that?
You have to clean this all out, huh, John?
Yeah. This is.
How many power strips?
I don't know.
48,000.
This is an Yaesu FT1 ONE. I never saw these until I was at the house, and he had 3 of them. Oh yeah, here. This is the Skyrider, which is a adapter thing. He had the actual Helicrafter one, and you also had the one made by Pan Adapter. These 2 are the same thing, really. Just Helicrafter put their name on this one, the Skyrider, but these 2 things are the same. These are just sitting around, needed an AR and a R5. Look at this.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and this guy was out to lunch. Oh, these you saw already, I think, but some of these, just, you got this stuff laying around. These are made by Atlas, I believe, these speakers. Someone told me. That's a Helicrafter SR34. That's some kind of
oh, that's 2 and 6 meter receiver.
Yeah,
looks like a Hewlett-Packard generator of some kind.
Oh yeah, right here, that it's really crapped out, as you can see. But I've been told that some of these have the rectifier tube in these. The ones is a GZ34 5AR4, which can be very valuable to the audio files. Not that I would take one out of it and sell it to an audiophile.
That's the rectifier that's in my Dynaco ST70 tube amplifier.
Yeah, and they came. Now, if you have one with the metal base, it's worth like 4 times as much as the Bakelite base. It's those guys are crazy. Some more. What do we got here? We got the National, and we got the NC. Oh, this is a heavy receiver, the 183D. This weighs like 50 pounds. CB rigs all over the place. More shit. Some stuff was never even opened. These are actually, I think I have a picture of these. That's an HA6 and an HA2 transverter. And I have the power supply is somewhere around here. Got transformers.
Yeah.
This is the tubes again, which I think you saw. And I think we're just some more. Oh, down here, I think that's like an Helicrafter. It's a transmitter. It's the. It's an HT6. But there's just stuff everywhere. I mean, it's just piled up in piles, Those look like, those are CRTs, military CRTs used, they would plug in and out of some equipment. I guess I don't know if it's radar or just pan adapter stuff. Fisher.
Another Fisher.
Yeah, that I got that working. I forgot which model that is. It's oh, know what that was? That's a weird one. That was
May have come out of a
KX
console.
Oh, actually, that KX200 was a kit. What they had, Fisher for a short while had a line of kits called the Strata kits, and this was one of them. They had a receiver, transmitter. Oh, I mean a amp, a preamp, and a tuner. Microphones all over the place. Now those are not the RCAs you think they are. That's that knockoff company.
Hellred.
More attic photos. It looks like a microfiche reader.
Oh yeah, you got it all there.
He's got it all. And in back of other stuff, you'd see more transceivers. Just you couldn't even find. Oh, and he had his monitor collection. Anyway, more stuff that was never opened.
Wow, still in the box.
Yeah. No, these were AC transverters. He had one for 6 meters and one for 144, 2 meters. He had about 4 of these power supplies for transceivers. Amico, VFO, unfortunately this is broken. The photo is a house. Military. Oh, SP220 linear amplifier from Heathkit. There were pieces of this in 3 different places. I found them all, and I have it sitting in my garage and restore it. Oh, and there's that. This is an SX28, I believe. 28A, which it weighs about 1,000 pounds. Hammerlin National. That's also, I believe, a National down there.
And a Cobra on the top.
Yep. My Cobra.
Yeah, the 118 Cobra sitting on top of the die cast.
Okay. Anyway, oh, the Hellcrafter TV. That's has channel 1.
Oh, interesting.
More stuff.
Got your work cut out for you there, John.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. I'm gonna stop this now.
Wow.
Oh, it's great.
I mean, it's frightening. Unfortunately for the family, it's frightening. But I've had a lot of fun with the stuff, and I'm helping out the lady. I promised I'd help her somehow get rid of all the electronics. The rest of the stuff is on her. The furniture, she must have had like in the basement about. Oh, I didn't show. Let me just show you one thing. I mentioned how in the basement they had.
Oh yeah, the car in the basement.
Let me see if I could find that. Hold on. I think this is the. Oh, here we go. Hold on here. Let me get back to it. No, that's not what. Okay, 1 second.
Oh boy.
All right. This thing's in pieces all over the place.
My God.
I don't know if that's the correct engine. I think there's another engine in here somewhere. You have piles of shit down here. I mean, body panels.
Oh yeah. I see a steering wheel. Wow. Something for everybody in this place.
Oh yeah. It's like this house was originally built in the 1890s. It was a stone house that was added on to. Unfortunately, it was part of an estate, one of those large estates on the North Shore of Long Island.
Yeah.
And there were two of these about a quarter mile from each other on the same street. The other one is beautiful. That house was restored. This one, well, you can see what happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a crawl space. They probably had 30 automobile tires down there.
Yeah, I've seen that. Oh my God.
I mean, there was a flood down here once, and you could see everything is. Oh, there's the radiator for you. Oh, here. This is in the basement. Imagine, how do you get something like this in the basement? It must weigh 1,000 pounds, and some more pan adapter things sitting in it. Oh, this is cool. This is, it talks about crazy shit. This is a Royal Canadian Air Force receiver from 1941, made by Northern Electric, model AR2. Now, what's so nuts about this, let me back this up a little bit. It comes in a wood carry case. Okay. Now, apparently, see all these here?
Yeah.
There's another 12 of them. Now, some are the matching transmitter. Yeah, this one, but there's 12 of them altogether.
And what is the toilet brush for?
That's to wipe the dust off.
For a toilet, you got to keep the place clean.
Wouldn't you naturally put it by your Royal Canadian, Northern Electric equipment? Because most people put their toilet brush.
I mean, this is a moped of some type.
Wow, that's actually the most complete thing I've seen motor-wise.
There's another engine.
That looks closer.
Yeah, that looks more like what goes on that Model T chassis.
And
some type of anchor or grappling hook or something that's sitting on top
to
of
hold the engine down, no doubt.
God.
Oh, nothing like having a cement mixer.
Cement mixer next to the aquarium. Perfect.
Yeah,
of course.
Yeah. This is like
the upside down ceiling fan or whatever that thing is.
Anyway, that ends the tour. I'm sorry if I went over, but
that was worth it.
No one believes this type of stuff, and I've been in other houses like this on Long Island.
Well, unbelievable.
Houses that, I mean, when I first met this woman in last November, she says, "Oh, I want to have this stuff cleaned out in 6 months," and I knew she would never be able to do it. And and this is a family with a lot of money. And so
you need to spend a little bit and just have a team of people come and haul it all out.
Well, she's finally getting to that stage because in the last month she had some guys with a big dump truck take 2 or 3 loads of shit out of there.
Yeah.
And it's it's I don't know. I told her one thing. I said, because there's a lot of car parts all over the basement. And I said, make sure you don't throw out any car part. No. Just one, you can't. But and all this, because they have a lot of money. She's right now, she's on a 2 or 3 week trip to Europe somewhere with her kids. It's sort of part of it's an unfortunate story where this is her father-in-law's. Her husband was the only son of the people in that house. And her husband grew up there. He died in his 40s, unfortunately, very young, and left her and 2 kids. But there was a lot of money, so there was no financial problems. But, she's dealing with this whole thing. And also the son, who must have been a nice guy, he has a World War II military Jeep, or he left. It's sitting in their garage, not at the the daughter-in-law's house, but she still has that.
You'll find a home for that super quickly enough.
Oh yeah, I mean, and that apparently runs and everything's cool with it. I haven't seen it though, but this house is probably going to be a tear down. Because it's so fucked up. All right. That's it.
Just one quick sideline here. I want you to know that you're not alone. Bruce and I were involved in helping a person clean out. And this is one corner of one room. I just show you similar stuff that we're dealing with.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's,
Wow.
yeah, this is,
And by the way, there is a car in the basement.
Oh, is that a
Just so you-
Caterham 7?
Just so you don't feel
what kind of
lonely.
car is that? What
I
kind of
think
car
it's
is
a
it?
Caterham 7.
Yeah, that's an
so.
expensive car.
Yeah.
What is
that's
it?
Yeah, the Caterham is like, the Lotus 11,
Oh, a chassis? Is that a
no,
Lotus?
they did a company that sort of made them look, there was a Redux
Oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
of it. So it looks too modern to be vintage because I'm looking at the wheels.
Yeah, look at the
That's
wheels.
Yeah. Great.
But you can see the rear fenders and the roll bar and the,
Go back to the first photo of that place, Tom, because it was
Yeah,
something I
okay.
saw. I mean, like he has the
I
number
want
of
to see that big
racks.
reel to reel.
See this? No, see this rack. Actually, I'm going to take home. It's still there. He had some equipment in that, and then the next photo, I think you had a floor rack. He has a floor rack like this, which I showed you that where the R390 was, but it's on casters.
Yeah.
And weighs probably 150 pounds alone without equipment.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this
So
is
just so you know, all of this equipment, Bruce and I arranged to take to Nearfest last meeting. And a good bit of it was sold at Nearfest for the widow. And a couple of things went that were too heavy to take, like that Collins 30 S1, do you think, linear down the right-hand corner and stuff. But it was luckily we helped out with that, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on.
yeah, I mean, it's these people. Sometimes the guy had only a few antennas on his roof, though. I mean, yeah, this is like I've been through. I mean, there's stories. I was in some old barn once that had like all this type of stuff, and I had other houses, and always an engineer. And this guy had tools in his basement, some very cool tools that were band saws and lathes that they had sold off even before I got there. It's just I don't know what to say. Sometimes it's overwhelming.
Yeah,
No question.
Anyway, all right.
You'll have to tell more about the saga as you continue, but
Yep.
But well,
All right.
Randy,
Go ahead.
That was fun. We saw a lot of
Yes.
different things.
yeah, thank you, John. I really enjoyed that a lot. Being a surplus nut all my life and having collected piles of that stuff. Very silly.
Sounds like Tom will be making a trip to Long Island. But well, at any rate, it was thanks everybody for attending. It was a lot of fun, good stuff. Thank you, Tom and John and Len for that great presentation on your Rhode Island radios. And at any rate, I guess we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, and we'll come up with something, I'm sure, for the next meeting. And for sure, Tom, I would enjoy to slot you in for the quack electronic device talk. So we're gonna slot you in. We're a bunch of quacks anyway, so we'd definitely be up for it.
Well, maybe also if people don't make it to Marlboro, I could do the disappearing ham radio history and hope for the future.
That would
that would be great.
That'd be really great.
There's enough interest. I don't want to bore people.
No, not boring.
No, don't worry, because we all have disappearing memories, so we won't remember it anyway.
There you go. But thanks everybody. Looking forward to seeing you in a couple of weeks. Hopefully the weather will cooperate, and otherwise we hope to talk to you over IO and so forth. So you
Good night.
All right. Good night.
Good job.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
You bet.